Chapter 1. A week ago. Simon Debovar had come to a conclusion. He hated other people. Not any specific other people, just everyone who wasn't him. He hated their demands on his time. He hated how they made him wait behind them in queues, got in his way on the street, filled up the bus before he could get on it, asked him questions and then expected answers. But most of all he hated how they smelled. Sweaty and sweet and spicy. Simon Debovar had 2 baths a day and never smelled of anything but clean, and that's exactly how everyone else should smell, in his opinion. Anything else was inconsiderate and lazy. Most inconsiderate people were lazy, and most lazy people were inconsiderate, in Simon's experience. And most people were one or the other, usually both. Having given up hope of finding a quiet corner of Edinburgh which he could have entirely to himself, Simon had decided to lock out the rest of the world and create his own kingdom, the royal borough of 42 Queen's Drive. Just past the post office with the 2 oaks outside. If you hit the Shell garage, you've gone too far, as it was known to the local pizza, Chinese, Indian and Thai restaurants. For 13 years Simon had lived a hermit's life in the middle of one of Scotland's busiest, most throbbing metropolises. Of course he had to have some communication with the outside world, but he kept it to a minimum. When delivery drivers or repairmen necessarily came round, he would hide upstairs and shout directions. Had any of them ever challenged him as to why he remained a floor above, he was prepared to feign illness and/or injury as an excuse. In fact, he enjoyed dreaming up a new ailment each time such a visit was expected. "Today I shall have a broken toe, caused when I dropped a small antique clock in the shape of an elephant on it whilst visiting my Auntie Agnes." He hadn't dropped his Auntie Agnes clock, of course. He didn't have an Auntie Agnes. His living family consisted of, to his knowledge, a distant cousin called George, who'd married an Australian and moved to Switzerland. Why an Australian would want to live in Switzerland bewildered Simon, sometimes keeping him awake at night wondering what Switzerland might have that Australia lacked. Another called Sabrina, a lesbian who lived in New York, and Great-Aunt Harriet, who, despite seeing all her peers and most of the generations after her pass on, had stubbornly refused to shuffle off her mortal coil. 15 years ago the rest of Simon's family had been killed in a tragic pudding-related accident.